Welcome Helldivers! Today I'm looking at some of the hidden mechanics that are not explained in-game, starting with durable damage as it's connected with many of the others, before looking at the hidden armour penetration levels. Durable damage is likely kept behind the scenes because it's confusing and hard to understand. Nearly everything that deals damage has this hidden durable damage value also, but it won't be seen in any of the in-game UI elements. Durable damage is currently thought to only apply to certain parts of the enemies, these being called durable parts. A potential example is shooting the backs of nursing spewers or at the backs of chargers. Before crunching the numbers on any in-game test, there is another hidden mechanic that needs to be understood. This tweet from the CEO explains that weapons with the explosive trait deal 100% damage to certain areas of the bugs, with other weapons only dealing 10% of their total damage, or effectively having 90% of that damage wiped out. The weapon must have explosive in the weapon trait section. If it doesn't, it will only deal 10% to these squishy parts. One of the issues when trying to understand durable damage is that nobody other than the developers know the true health values of the enemies. With the knowledge about explosive weapons dealing 100% damage to these parts, it might seem like this is a great way to get a baseline for the true health values. An example would be to use the Scorcher that deals 200 damage and has the explosive trait, firing it at the side of the nursing spewer and simply counting up how many shots it takes to kill it. 5 shots at 200 damage for a total of 1000. And it seems quite easy to be able to put the health range between 801 damage and 1000 damage. But it's not as easy as this, as there is yet another hidden mechanic that needs to be taken into consideration. The Scorcher recently went from displaying 100 damage to 200 damage in-game. The patch notes detailed that no values had actually been changed on the weapon. It was only an update to the UI to represent the explosive damage being dealt. This is confirmed with the data mining. It shows that the projectile on direct hits deals 100 normal damage, with a potential for an additional 50 durable damage. The AoE explosive component deals 100 damage, with 100 durable damage also. The separate AoE damage can be seen when hitting the head of the Hive Guard. The light armour penetration on direct hits does not get through that medium armour, and a deflection symbol is showing for no damage being dealt. But the red hit marker is also displaying for 100% damage being dealt, presumably from the part that is the AoE explosive element. Another confusing factor that is not yet fully understood is how the AoE splash damage actually works. This test on the bile spewer shows a white hit marker, meaning only 50% damage is being dealt. Presumably that 50% is for the explosive AoE splash, as the direct hit can't penetrate through the armour and has the deflection symbol. The patch notes also mention damage fall off from explosive weapons. Damage fall off, and the potential that AoE explosive damage could be impacted in other unknown ways, opens additional variables when using explosive weapons. This is a real challenge when trying to understand the data or compare it to other datasets. The AR-23 and the penetration version have quite different durable damage values, and this should help provide contrasting data to examine. The side of the nursing spewer has no armour to impact the tests. It is a squishy part though, and that will be taken into account as the data is broken down. All of these tests were completed before the 29th of April update. The AR-23 got a damage boost, and as of this video it is unknown if the durable damage value has also increased. I have elected to use the data that is more reliable and understood at the time of this video. The AR-23 base version needs 84 hits at 55 damage per hit to kill the side of the nursing spewer, a total of 4,620 damage for the kill. The 23P needs 45 hits at 45 damage, a total of 2,025. Without even considering any other information, that is a huge difference. Both need to have 90% damage taken off of this total. This leaves 462 damage for the 23 base version and 202.5 damage for the 23P. My current working theory, which could be completely wrong, is that durable damage is being applied also and making up the difference in those damage numbers. Applying the durable value as additional damage per hit comes out as an extra 420 for the AR-23 and 675 for the P version. Combining this with the normal damage provides totals of 882 and 877.5. This is a remarkably similar damage total to kill the nursing spewer, less than 5 HP away from each other and within 99% of the same damage total. Factoring in other weapons using this formula, the damage variance does widen, the concussive rifle only needing 837 damage. The Diligence and a Dominator also sit with the concussive rifle around that 840 damage mark. The BR-14 somehow getting away with an 800 damage kill and the biggest variance of 91%. My theory is of course complete guesswork, but it's quite compelling when getting multiple results that seem to line up. I've already explained that explosive weapons have unknown variables. This puts in added challenges when trying to understand the data. I still tested the Scorcher using the same formula as above. It comes out with 1300 damage over 5 shots. With all of the theoretical durable damage combined, it should be 260 damage per shot fired. 4 shots to kill with 1040 total damage. This could be that no explosive damage fall-off has been factored in, or perhaps when shooting at squishy parts, the durable explosive damage is not applied. This could be because it is already taking 100% damage from the explosive element. Including the durable damage here effectively doubles that explosive damage. Removing the extra 500 explosive durable damage drops the damage total to 800, right in the window of the other tests. But this is complete conjecture on my part, and why have the durable number there if it's not actually being applied? Another theory is that durable body parts only take durable damage, that they take no normal damage at all. I wanted to test this all or nothing theory. A perfect way would be knowing an enemy that has a durable part and it is for sure not a squishy part also. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anyone who could identify a normal enemy that has a durable body part that is not also squishy. And so I ended up applying the all or nothing theory to the side of the nursing spewer test that I'd already done. The damage to kill ranges are now 370 to 675 durable damage. A HP match of almost 55%, quite a big variance in the damage to kill the target. It also seems unlikely that the AR-23 base version requires less damage compared to the 23p for the kill. There is also another theory that the squishy parts of the enemies have layers, that once again no durable damage is being dealt, instead the higher the armour penetration value, the more layers the bullet hits. Each layer will still only take 10% damage from non-explosive weapons, but as the bullet passes through them, it would deal damage to each one. For example, the 23p would be dealing 4.5 damage per hit, but that 4.5 would be applied multiple times as it penetrates through the layers. I ran the numbers assuming up to 5 potential layers for the squishy part. What's interesting in this data is the concussive rifle. It deals the exact same damage and has the same armour penetration value as the AR-23 base version. With this layer theory, they should have the exact same damage results, but they clearly don't. The durable damage though is a factor that sets them apart, perhaps providing a bit more evidence that the durable damage is being dealt to these squishy parts of the enemies. There is no way to completely explain how it works with the current information available. My theory that both values are being applied is my best guess so far. The developers have revealed that armour penetration goes beyond light, medium and heavy. There are actually 10 steps involved. Data miners have confirmed this information, although the names in this table are guesses made by the wiki team. Data mining also shows that stratagems can have different armour penetration values, presumably for the direct hit versus the AoE splash damage that they might deal, and that even a direct hit such as with the spear can have different penetration values. More on that in the next section. Right now, for understanding the basics of how this works, 2 bits of information are required. The armour penetration value of the weapon firing versus the armour value of the target being hit. If the weapon's value is higher than the target's armour value, it takes 100% of the damage from the weapon, represented by the red hit marker. If the values are both matched, the target takes 50% damage and the white hit marker is shown. And if the weapon is below the armour value, it will deflect off of the armour for no damage being dealt at all. This becomes more complicated with explosive AoE damage. The orbital walking barrage has different armour penetration values in this AoE section. The best guess is that on a direct hit, the penetration value is 6. That's enough to deal damage through the charger's armour. But the 0 values are presumed to be for the splash damage that is not a direct hit, dealing 100% damage to unarmoured enemy parts, and potentially 0 damage depending on the angle of the AoE and the armour placement of the target. That's the best guess so far. Much like different penetration values for explosive AoE, it appears that direct hits can have different values also. The orbital 380 barrage having a range from 8 to 6. This could potentially make a huge difference whether the target takes 100% damage, 50% or no damage at all. It's not understood if or how this impacts primary weapons. Based on my test where the same gun might need a different number of shots to kill the same target, it would appear that the angled armor hit mechanic could be the reason for that discrepancy. A quick shout out to this amazing spreadsheet. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the name of the author, but they have made it available and the link is in the description. If you found anything helpful today, hit that like button, drop a comment below, and also in the description you can find a lot more information including my Patreon. Thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you in game.